Hey guys, this is sj.hammer, and this is going to be episode number 8. And with me today, I have Corbin. Corbin recently competed in his first contest. So please introduce yourself, Corbin.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching this that has already met me before, but if you haven't, my name's Corbin Rogers. So I recently did the NPC Elite Physique on August 14th. My next show is September 24th, which will be the Ohio State Championships, which we'll be doing with Sam. So I'm jumping back into that one, but yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm having fun so far, and it's really enjoyable.
You looked good on stage. I saw you. So first thing, maybe give us a little bit of your background.
So if you guys don't know, by my career, I'm a registered dietitian. I've been playing sports pretty much my entire life, college sports, played hockey, basketball, etc., you name it. I've been lifting close to about since 2016. It's just like general lifting, more like a powerlifting slash like hypertrophy type lifting style, not really physique, not really like any type of anything towards like a competing.
How old are you?
31.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
You don't look it.
No, I don't.
It's like I thought you were like 25, but I'm like you're a registered dietitian. I'm like I don't know how many years
And I
that takes.
wish. I wish.
Uh,
So for the dietitian, you have to have your 4-year degree, and then once you're done with that, you have to get a really highly competitive internship. You get accepted at less than 50% of people get accepted to that. It's about 10 months to about a year. So there are rotations of community rotation, clinical, and then also a food service rotation. After that, you take an examination and you pass your boards and you get a job. If you guys are used to the bodybuilding world, I know there's 2 other dietitians I know of. Tuttle is one, and then also John Jewett. So
I didn't know he was a dietitian. That makes sense too.
yeah.
I think you should like kind of point out why. So you just did your first show, but who was your coach?
That was myself. So that's the $1 million question that a lot of people keep asking me, like, who's your coach? Who's your coach? Who's your coach? And I'll be like, uh, myself. And then they'll kind of give me a puzzled look and they're like, wait a second, you got a coach brace. What do you like? How you doing this stuff like that? And I could be completely honest with everybody. It's pretty much been living it on the fly. Like I know how to diet myself down to a certain body percentage. I know how much my macros are for the day and in general what I was doing. So it was really just a minor adjustment, but it was more kind of figuring out, stepping outside of my body and kind of yelling at myself and saying, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, like kind of being my own drill sergeant. So it's been interesting.
Did you get any advice from other coaches or like experienced competitors?
Yeah. So Sarah, who goes by Brazen Maiden, she actually was a very instrumental part in my entire prep. I know like you want to lose a certain percentage every single week, but as the weeks went on, it was really easier for me to kind of do those changes. And at first I was doing too many changes, then I'd stop and I'd look at it, I'd be able to progress. But once it came down to the peak week, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, just because I'm kind of like, all right, well, look, I'm 175 pounds now. I'm good. Dietitian, I'm good. Oh, no, you have to keep going. Like, this has to be very unhealthy for you. And Sarah kind of stepped in there, especially with like emails and motivational advice, really gave me a game plan on what to do. And then I took that, kind of adapted to what I needed to do for my own body. Um, then I just kind of worked from there.
So you didn't have like other people kind of talking into your. What I'm kind of getting at is
Yeah.
like you didn't have conflicting advice from different people that you had to
Um,
figure out.
Not necessarily. It was more so like every single person that has met me over the last 5 years of lifting was kind of like, oh my God, you're finally doing it. Here, do this, do that. Here, do this, do that. And I'm like, all right, cool. I got this. I got this. There was some conflicting advice, like maybe move your hand here or do here. And then
Okay.
sometimes it would be uncomfortable.
With posing.
Um, yeah, especially with the posing, and then also too with the foods too. Like you have to eat this type of food, this type of food, this type of food. And in my head, I'm kind of like, I don't eat those things anyway. But I can't. I'm not sure if I'm gonna eat those for like 10, 12 weeks. So,
So
but yeah,
that's kind of how you decide the food.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
yeah.
it's hard to deal with. I've dealt with the posing conflicts where I've posed with different coaches,
Mhm.
some of them judges or pros, and they're giving me different advice. And now I'm like, I got too many cooks in the kitchen, and now I got to
Yeah,
figure out what to do. And for
yeah,
myself, I'm like, I rather stick with my own coach, not cause any drama. But you're your own coach, so
yeah. I would probably say the closest thing I had to a coach was every single day, literally through prep, when I would do my AM cardio, I'd jump off the treadmill, go into the LA Fitness, and I literally would practice maybe about 15, 25 minutes, just keep going, repetitive. Eventually, it started to click a little bit, watching like YouTube videos and stuff like that. And then you just kind of like emulate it. And then eventually, like once you kind of like look back at it, like right now, if I look back at it, like my first week, I look at it like, dear God, what the hell are you doing? Like that's so horrible. But now it's kind of like, okay, yeah, now I can make it makes more sense to me now. Like I have I can basically like behind me here, I have tape on the ground that I could just every single time I get up, I just hit the pose real quick, hold for 5 seconds, face to back, hold for 5 seconds, then I just go to the bathroom or get my meal or something. So it's kind of like I'm passively actually doing that. So I would
I saw your posing from the front row. It was pretty good. I'm not gonna say it was 100%, but it was really good. You know,
yeah, it
it
was a
beats.
train wreck.
I've done much worse, much worse. On my first show, and I probably talked to two different coaches with posing. But you did kind of mention at some point with dieting, like you were overchanging.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing too, especially with everything in my prep, because I'm my own eyes, like I would change things in my posing and that'd be kind of crappy. But then, like, for instance, like Goob, John, like, had a thing that popped up for him, and then like he looked at me, he's like, oh yeah, you're good, and da 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 da. I'm like, all right, cool, that makes sense. If he can tell me that, and everybody, if you met him before, you know he's honest. But especially when it came to diet, like at first, the week 12 through week 8, I was doing carb cycling. So I didn't really know how much weight I could really drop, didn't know how my metabolism would go. So I started prep at 197. I dropped literally like a rock within 3 weeks and was about 184. And I was like, oh, hell no, I can't do this for like another like so weeks. So at that time, I kind of did more of a linear approach, just kind of taking it like day by day, trying to figure that out, different foods and stuff like that. And I think I got to where I needed to go. I think I actually started to try to peak um, early, but I think my body kind of responded way too well. And I probably tried to peak maybe like around week 5 or 4. So at that point in time, I'm really just trying to like maintain it. So it was definitely like going forward, I know I don't need 12 weeks. I was a little bit too lean already going in. And then also, too, allowing myself to see those changes through the week and let them go and don't just get into your head is something that I'm going to take in the future.
I don't remember when I met you, how many weeks before, but I could tell right away. I'm like, this guy looks like a competitor. And you had tried prepping before, or were you were already starting to prep?
So I actually in 2019, I was gearing up to do my first show. I was going to do the Pittsburgh that year just to kind of do it, but then obviously at that time I did other things going on, and then I got into grad school, and I moved to Allentown, PA, and I was like, I can't really do this. And there was a couple shows out there, but like, I can't really do this internship and master's degree at the same time along with a prep. It's not going to work. So I would tell myself once I was done with that, maybe I'd try it out. Then obviously COVID happened. So I went from losing all my gains and everything to try to figure out what the heck I can do. And then once the shows started popping around, I'm like, well, I got the free time, I got the financial resources, I can do this. I'm going to the gym already, I'm eating this way already. So I'm like, you know what, we might as well just do this, jump in, and let's see what we can do. If we don't like it, we can just stop it. But definitely, I've tried it in the past, but this was actually the first actual jump.
It does make sense, like why you were kind of leaner than necessary early on. Kind of how you said. I should probably ask you the big question is, how'd you do at the show?
How did I do at the show? So
Well, I know how you
I
did, but for everybody else.
so I actually surprisingly I won my class, and then I also won the true novice. So I still don't understand if that's a good thing or a bad thing. just because there's not really a litmus test because it was my first show. What I've heard is that people don't usually win their first show. So I'm kind of sitting here like, is it like I'm like a prodigy or something? Or if I'm gonna like go do my next show and get blown out of the water by some crazy 6'3" guy. So I'm just kind of like, I took it in stride and I was happy where it came from because I think going in there, I just want to jump on stage. I just want to do it, have fun with my family and friends, and then kind of reevaluate after that. But bringing the hardware home was pretty cool.
You almost won the overall. You went to the overall, and a lot of people cannot say that. So you won your which class are you in? So for
Uh,
everybody, I don't know if you said it, but you did physique.
yeah.
And
So
what, go
I
ahead.
was technically class B. So I'm 5'10" and a quarter. So it's technically class C, but through prep and everything with like losing weight, they actually dropped me in class B. And when the guy told me I was 5'9", I'm like, no, that's not right. Definitely not right. So they actually measured me 3 times. I'm like, that's still not right, man. I don't know what you're doing. So they put me in class B, which technically I think was actually the biggest class of the competition. I think there was 7 guys there. And then
He
also,
often is. It's the average
yeah,
height of guys, or the average range. Where I'm
yeah.
short, sometimes I have no competitors or very small. For your height, you know why you lost your height, but for everybody else, a lot of times you lose like a quarter of an inch in your heel,
Yeah,
just from I don't know water. So you get a little bit shorter.
I know
or they
it's
or
funny.
they or they were bad at measuring 3 times.
Yeah, I know people shrink when they get older. I'm only 31, so please don't start now.
Because and I definitely do believe it because I know when I'm really lean, my heels and my feet feel more sensitive, like on tile.
Yeah, I actually ended up this entire prep. I think I bought maybe about
I'm
6 or 7 different pairs of shoes because my foot hurt.
I'm wearing flip flops all the time at home.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you did really great on your first show, and like you could say maybe a prodigy. Maybe you just started much later than some people, or a lot of great pros they're winning early on. Not
Mm.
but you look great. I hopefully by now as I record this, I've already posted a picture. But I'm gonna post a picture of you, so everybody else can see what you kind of look like. Do you want to give your Instagram?
Yeah, so my Instagram, if you're not already following me, let me see if I can pull it up here. It's Corb_RD. That's spelled CORB_RD. If you want to give me a follow, always willing to talk to people and just be active on there. So
I'll put that on the screen. And for yourself, like, how do you feel like you did after the show? Like looking back,
looking back, um,
that was your first peak week too, or did you practice peaking?
actually, yeah. So during my prep, because I started to peak really like around week 5, I was able to kind of gamble with things and everything. So I actually tried 3 different types of peaks. I know a lot of people do the dirty peak, like the dirty peak, or they eat a burger. Some people do like a clean one, and then also some people would do just like basically just coasting to the show. So I know my bulky one, I did actually went to Burgertory, got whatever burger I wanted with some cornbread. I ate that, and then I also had some wine. And then at that point in time, like I was already going off about 3 days of no carbs, which is kind of my sweet spot. I woke up really, really like bloated, but about 2 days later, I was full as hell. Like I probably didn't need to, I could probably wake up, jump on stage, and like, boom, here we go. Like it was kind of crazy, but I was like, you know what? Like I could probably try to time that, but it wouldn't work out. So the second option was a clean bulk, which I just used like a sheet sub, couple sheet subs, couple rice cakes, then the red wine too. And that one was pretty cool because I could kind of gauge where my body was, and that's what I ended up doing for the show.
Okay. And is that like, would you do that again, or would you do something different? You think?
Actually, I think I am going to do that
Okay.
again.
I mean, you got
I
4 weeks now.
yeah, about 4 weeks. So I think like going into this show, I definitely understand where my body's going to do and what it's going to do because I know I have a little book here that had that entire peak of it in there. Like I actually figured out like down by the time, the grams of peanut butter, the grams of jelly, even down to like how many like calories is in each one and the timing. So I was really down on that. I'm definitely going to do that again, but obviously with this show, it's going to be a little bit different peak because it's a later show. But I will definitely try to replicate that the best way I can.
And what Corbin means is normally the prejudging is at 9 a.m. and the finals is around 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. But we're both doing the same show. Our prejudging starts at 7 p.m. and it immediately goes into finals. So the timing is a little different. So the timing of the food might be a little bit more different. And we check in the same day in the
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, it's good. It's like a rush job.
Yeah. And I was like, you have no practice with that either, I imagine, or you
uh,
have data maybe of
yeah,
stuff to work with.
yeah. I got some data. Like I've like really through the prep, I've experimented with all types of crap and everything. And I think that's the one good thing about me being a coach, and then also me just not really like caring about the results for it. Like I'm just going in there to have fun. So I mean, I could do whatever. Like there was actually one point in time, and this is a secret. Nobody else knows this because I broke the taboo. I
Everybody's
did
gonna
it.
hear it.
I did the coach. I made a coach call week 4. I was pissed off. I was angry. I had a bad day at work, so I ate 2 my cookie dealer cookies that night, and I said, "Fuck it, I don't care." Like, and then I kind of said to myself, "You know what? Honestly, I'm lean enough. I'm gonna fill out, and this is not gonna hurt me within like 4 weeks or so." So I was like, I mean, it may have hurt me, but it really didn't. But also, a good thing is that my mental space came back from
Yeah.
that, so I was
Um,
much more like stressed out, less stressed out.
I think a big contributor, I mean, I experienced it myself, to losing the mental capacity is lack of carbs,
Yeah.
specifically carbs, not fat or protein. Because I get
Mm-hmm.
there too. I mean, just today I noticed I put my shorts on backwards and I was out at the grocery and I just
Yeah.
learned how to put my wallet and my keys in my pockets backwards.
Yeah, I got plenty of stories of what I did when I'm on was low carbs. Like I think with my apartment complex, if I go left, I can go to the gym. If I go right, I go to work. I probably did the opposite about 4 or 5 times through that prep. I would have conversations with family members and coworkers, literally not listening to them, just like what? Oh, okay. There was one point in time I actually charted in a electric medical record of a wrong resident that was completely and utterly wrong. So I had to strike it out. One of the doctors kind of wanted to do my fasting blood glucose at the current moment because I was almost sleeping in my chair at some point. So it
I,
was,
I do fall asleep a lot of times.
yeah.
I work from home and like I could be in a meeting and if I'm not talking and it's long and boring, like I
Mhm.
dropped my phone and woken myself up because it hit the ground.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Plenty of nights of that with my phone like here and just boom. Oh, what
Oh
the
yeah,
hell?
yeah. I've got pictures from Danielle taking pictures of me passed out.
That's
Uh,
funny.
so what kind of cookies did you eat? You said
um,
my cookie dealer, but what were they?
Oh, okay. So I have a very bad sweet tooth, which has kind of changed a little bit with prep. So they have what's called the Seeker Stash, which is usually right after they do a drop, you can get 10 bucks of cookies for about 40 bucks or so, which is about half off. So I actually got, please don't kill me, anybody. I got 2 of those boxes, and then I also had another 5. So at one point in time, I had 25 of those cookies in my was my alarm's going off for my next meal, but I had 25 of those cookies in my freezer along with a PDX cookie, which is still in there and it's a mega. So there is that whole thing in there. But those two cookies I had there was a regular OG cookie, and then I had a strawberry toaster pastry one at that time. So I was just like, you know what? This is awesome. I liked it, but I didn't do anything else the rest of prep.
Am I holding you up from your meal?
Whoop, I got you muted.
Oh, can you hear
Oh,
me?
I can hear you now. I can hear you
Okay.
now.
Am I holding you up from your meal?
Oh no, you're good. You're
Okay.
good.
Okay. Yeah, I don't do meal timing during outside of like the day of, but I get it. I try to time it in my head. So
Yeah.
I'm eating not too early, delaying my meals or eating
Mhm.
I pretty much eat them consistently at the same time every day. So I guess
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same. My stomach reminds me I want to eat all the time.
Yeah.
What else? I had some notes. Is there anything you wanted to talk about specifically?
um, I was gonna say too, the one biggest thing for me is because of my career, and like as everybody knows, with like if you don't know what a registered dietitian does, we literally like we don't create meal plans, never ask the dietitian for a meal plan, we hate it, but we basically push more for like medical nutritional therapy, like diabetes, hypertension, etc. We try to make sure those disease states are within normal limits. But the thing with being a bodybuilder is that obviously we know we're putting our bodies in like unhealthier states. You're stressing your liver, your kidneys, your heart, etc. So having to get myself to a certain point where I could technically be stage lean, but then also be healthy was really conflicting, just because at one point in time, my body fat was really low. And I'm saying to myself as a dietitian, Corbin, you need to eat. You got to eat your food. And this, whatever you're doing, is not a balanced plate. There's like barely any vegetables on there. There's no carbs. Like, what are you going to do? So then in my head, I'm like, no, we're a bodybuilder now. We don't eat carbs. So we have to whip those down. So I think that's the one thing that I've really kind of struggled with, and I continue to keep struggling with. But I think I'm a little bit more open with it now, and I'm a little bit more understanding that the stuff that you learn in school is really good, but there's a certain aspect where you kind of have to let it go so you can just kind of like push for what you need to do.
Yeah, it's impressive. And like for the people watching, like coaches have a hard time getting people peaked right or prepped right, and like for their client, a whole nother person. But it could be the client isn't following, or the coach doesn't know them that well, or a combination of factors,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're a good coach or not. But like to do it yourself, and for the most part, it seems like you've like as if you're a client, sometimes you overdo things. Like, hey, my coach said eat 100 grams of carbs today, but I'm like, I'm not losing enough weight, so I'm only going to eat 50, and it becomes
Yeah.
worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Or coach says, do 45 minutes of cardio, and I'm like, I'm not losing weight fast enough, so I'm going to do more,
Yeah.
which can, after weeks and weeks, it can become worse, or anything like that. But like, you seem to have at least a pretty good handle on it.
Yeah, so actually, it was funny too because being a dietitian, we have to do what's called continuing education units, which is basically we have to have 75 hours within a 5-year period. So I did a couple. One of them was cortisol levels with resistance training, and then stress, and then also another one on carb cycling too. And then also there was one on water retention. And those three basically told me from my body is that, Corbin, you need to have low stress, otherwise you're going to hold water. And then also B, don't do as much cardio intensely. You have to do low state cardio.
For
So
the low stress, that because of cortisol levels?
for me, it's mainly because I lean out a little bit too much.
No, no,
So
I
like
mean
a lot.
to hold water. Like, does the
Oh yeah,
cortisol rise?
yeah. So
I
like
don't know the technical that much, but I know a little.
yeah. Well, so the biggest thing for me is that like the beginning of my prep, I was doing maybe close to like I was doing like 40 minutes of cardio with like a 10 incline at like 4 speed on the treadmill, which was like God too much at the time. So at that time, I definitely noticed like I had a little bit of edema, which is water retention in your lower extremities, and then also too, I couldn't really do anything on my leg days. Like my legs were trash. So I'm like, okay, this is not working. And it probably coincided like with me losing all that weight so quickly. So I basically kind of dropped it down to the point where like, all right, we're good here. We're good here. And I've kept my cardio for the most part about 5 days a week now at 40 minutes, slight incline, just enough to keep my heart rate within a good range. And then I'm also some days like I'm definitely I would give some more cardio. So like at work, I'll walk around. So the one thing that helped me out was doing a step count. So at the beginning of it, I had to hit a minimum of 10,000. When I needed to burn more calories, I bumped it about 1,000. I think the most I ever actually did in a day was about 18,000. And that was on the off day just because I was doing errands. But for the most part, I really just try to hit at least 10,000 even on a rest day, which is usually pretty normal. So 40 minutes on a treadmill could probably be anywhere between like 5 or 6,000. So by the time I get to work, I'm pretty much gonna hit that by the time I get to the gym.
Nice. Um, well, now, like you just did the show, and like you were, it was still your first show. Like, did you have
Mhm.
it? Did you feel you had any weak points that you want to work on,
Oh
like
yeah,
in
oh
the
yeah.
future?
Definitely. So there's a couple of things with that. So I'll give you the short end of it and then the long one. The short of it, my peak kind of got screwed up because I introduced three new foods that I did not eat the entire my prep, which is a big taboo. I ate a Sheets breakfast sub because I thought I was flat in the morning, which I wasn't. And
Sheets,
then
Sheets is a gas station, a
yeah,
larger gas station in I don't know how many states, but just for everybody else who
yeah.
it doesn't exist everywhere.
Sorry, everybody. And then I also ate two Slim Jims that day. So obviously I know I hold too much water, which I restricted my water one day out. So I was drinking about 3 gallons of water, which is I usually drink about two just in general, but I bumped it up by 1 gallon, and then I cut that out about 24 hours before the show, and then I was sipping on it as I was carving up the day before, which kind of helped me out. And then once I figured out like what I wanted to do show day, I think I sort of panicked, especially with like trying to like carb up and everything. So I had a whole array of things. I had like a banana back there, two Snicker bars, I had a loaf of raisin bread, peanut butter, sugar-free jam with the scale, like and a lot of stuff. So
When you say you panicked, you just brought too much food. You didn't go eating too much food.
yeah, I brought because like during prep, like there were different foods that I tested out. Like, okay, this is how I feel. This is what I should eat. So I had to try to cover my bases because I didn't want to be back there and like, crap, I really need carbs, but the only thing I have is rice cakes. I can't eat like 18 rice cakes right now. So I had a couple of things where like I could eat, and like I know a lot of people use muffins, but I tried a muffin before, but the fat in the muffin kind of gives me like this like glossy look, like it just doesn't hold on my body well. So I
Like
mixed
water,
that.
like a thin layer of water. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like
Uh,
it takes that water out of my muscle and kind of brings it on that outer layer.
Spilling over. That's kind of the term you mean, right?
Yeah. Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
For people who aren't familiar, like we're trying to keep water out of the skin because then it makes gives you a smoother look. And it's called spilling over. The water going from like the muscles or the other parts of the body and spilling into the skin. That's the one thing you want to avoid. I and I've definitely done the same where under a coach who had years of
Mhm.
experience had me eating different foods that I hadn't eaten all prep. I remember he had me eating pizza, like pizza slices. It was like two slices early in the morning, and then jelly beans and Reese cups. And so it may work for some people. I mean, obviously you've tried different methods,
Yeah.
but from my own experience, sticking to foods you already ate seems to work best.
Mhm.
um why use some mystery weapons, not knowing how it went.
Exactly.
Did you use any diuretics,
So
natural or
I
prescribed?
didn't I didn't use any prescribed diuretics just because I don't ethically my dietitian brain's like, Corbin, I'm gonna use Lasix. I'm like, no, the hell you're not. Why the fuck are you using Lasix? You got 88-year-olds on Lasix. I'm like, no. So the only natural ones I did, I used a little bit of dandelion root, and then also just the red wine, and then I think for the most part Epsom salt baths. So the full week going out, I was doing an Epsom salt
I've never
bath.
heard of that one.
That was actually something I learned that was kind of helpful for me, just because it kind of like once you're an Epsom salt bath is basically you sit in the soak in it, and what it does is magnesium basically is coming into your body, is making you sweat, but magnesium and then also sodium are in the same ionic basic they have the same ionic charge.
Okay.
So the magnesium will go in, the sodium will come out. And as we all know, as bodybuilders, some people know when sodium comes out, you tend to get tighter, magnesium tighter. So that kind of helped me out, really like kind of getting that sponge out. And then once the night of the show, I used about 6 ounces of red wine, and then also about a half a dose of the dandelion root, which I don't think really works too much. But that night, I went to sleep. I checked in at 183, and I was like, all right, cool, this is fine. In the middle of the night, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I set my alarm and everything. I went to go to the bathroom, and then I went to the bathroom again, and then I went to the bath. I went to the bathroom 3 times within about 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I guess it's working. So I woke up the morning of the show, and I was 173 pounds. So I had literally dropped close to like 8 pounds of water within like a few hours. And I was like, holy, like it couldn't all have been water, but I was like, holy
Well, I
shit.
mean, what else could it be?
I mean, yeah, but I was like, holy shit. Like,
Unless
and
you
I,
use took a
Yeah.
shit.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
I've done. I
exactly.
mean, I've had that where
Exactly. So,
I dropped 4 or 5 pounds in a matter of
so
5 minutes.
yeah, so I kind of panicked and everything. I'm like, oh crap, like I gotta eat, like I'm flat. Like at that point in time, maybe a coach would be like, no, you're good, just like chill and relax. But then like as when I was trying to like introduce new foods, but one thing I actually did do that I don't think any of us did, I used an enema.
Okay.
So I did that. I just know normally like when you have poop, obviously, like, especially for like physique, we want to make sure that we're nice, tight, and abs. Obviously, if you have some GI distress, you're holding it. So I did enema, had a good
I,
poop
I know
the
for
night
myself,
before.
and I think for others, a lot of times competitors get a little constipated, or they're just going.
Mm,
Maybe it's because they're not eating that much food, or
mm.
over the days. But it's like for myself, I'm going every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. So that was actually one thing I learned too, is like because I had cut my water, obviously I'm going to be a little bit dehydrated. Obviously, if I do try to go to the bathroom, it's not going to work. So that fluid kind of helped that out. But then I also noticed too through my prep, one of my staple foods was Brussels sprouts. So I know a lot of people they'll cause you guys distress and a lot of like bloating, but I kind of sort of gotten myself down to a certain amount of grams of the day carry out how much fiber I actually needed. And I kept that through all of my meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, except the other like my post and pre workout. But that literally kept me regular through the entire thing to the point where like when I would do a check-in, I didn't have to like sit there like, oh, I'm bloated. It just kind of let kept me going. So I think that was definitely something that
Did
helped me out.
Did you mess with the water or salt intake the last
Um,
few days?
I didn't. So when I was doing sodium through the entire prep, I would just get an Aldi, which is basically like the salt shaker, and I literally I got my scale. I have one of like the little tiny ones. I did one crank salt to weight, two cranks salt to weight, three cranks salt to weight, and I did that experiment and I averaged them out. Like okay, one crank is usually about so much, three cranks is about so much, etc. etc. So I was salting my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 3 meals, at least three cranks. I kept that up through the show, just because I know, like, as the water basically was going down, my body was still trying to think of, oh, we have all this soda and we have to excrete. But if anybody knows anything about kidney metabolism, sometimes it'll start to like there's a hormone that'll basically start to tell you like, oh, we're regulating this. Oh, we're going to continue to keep getting rid of water at the same point, but it doesn't know that I've already cut it off. So it's going to keep spilling it out. But if that only works for about 48 hours, so once that happens, then you're going to get to that point where, oh, now I'm going to hold the water. So I think a lot of people kind of like when you cut that sodium, by the time you get to the show, your body's already acclimated back to it. So you're kind of like, oh, hey, let's just drink some water. Now that Gatorade's all on you, and now you're on stage looking watery. So I knew I had about 12 to 18 hours where I could cut my water down significantly and still had that sodium. And I definitely timed it correctly because once after prejudging, I think I was okay. But then once I got to the finals, it started to kind of like, all right, we're going to do that. So that's something I'm going to change in the future.
I know for my first couple shows, I've always been one of the most shredded people at shows. But I noticed, after my most recent show, looking back at older shows, I was actually spilling over, and I think a lot of it was like the candy and the random junk. Like I would spill
Mhm.
over from the morning to the night. But the most recent show, I didn't have that issue because we didn't use those kinds of foods. Um, what's kind of your goal? So like you did really well at the
Mhm.
Elite Physique show. What's your goal for the Ohio State? Because you only have 4 weeks now, or it was like 6 weeks between total.
Yeah.
Uh,
So my goal at the high championships is literally just to get more experience. As you guys, everybody listening, you guys have kind of thought my thought process. I'm looking at this more as a giant experiment. So I got some things I'm going to try out, see if it works, see if it doesn't work. I don't really care where I place. Like I could place dead last. I'm still going to have fun. If I won my class, I'd still have fun. I don't really care about that. But my expectations for the future of it, like to be honest, I wouldn't mind winning the overall, but I know we all know that people show up. We don't know who could possibly show up. But I mean, getting the overall would be cool just because the bodybuilder part of me is a little bit salty that I came in like second place in
It was
overall.
very close.
And I was like, God damn it.
It was very. I had you winning, and I don't think it was because of favoritism, because I normally I can usually keep that separate. The other guy was bigger, but you looked prettier. I'm gonna say you had a nicer physique, tighter in the abs and wider in the shoulders. I would have had you winning.
Yeah, it's all about the size, but yeah, I would definitely say
it's not everything. Size is every. It's what, to be technical, it's about all of it: size, conditioning, and like posing.
Yeah. So I think, but the biggest plan right now really is to get these two shows underneath my belt. I have a good off season. So I think my walking weight right now is just about 185, 186. In the off season, I'd like to jump up to maybe about a comfortable 205, 210. And then as John has so graciously told me that go to the universe and get your pro card, you doofus. That's been sticking in my head ever since he sent that to me.
You're talking about John Dorsey?
Yeah,
Okay,
Goob
or Goob. That's my coach talking
yeah.
about.
So that's definitely one thing I'm kind of like, you know what? I mean, why not? So, but I mean, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And even if that does happen, like, I don't really care. I just would.
I definitely think you can. I mean, you have the potential. I think you need to bring up some weak points, but like it's all there.
Yeah. I think yeah, in the offseason, I know the one thing the judges told me was bring up my upper chest and then kind of get the shelf look a little bit. And to be honest, I think just with hitting the chest a little bit more, and then just if I can gradually increase my calories correctly, keep my cardio, and I think that'll kind of help me out. Just because I don't think I need too much, but I also know too, a lot of people are like, oh, I need to gain X, Y, and Z because so and so pro on Instagram looks like gigantic. Okay, well, you're going to go into your off season, gain like 30 pounds of fat because you're not lifting correctly. And then when you cut down, you're still going to look the same. So for me, I'd rather just kind of like gradually do it, really just focus more on that. And then most likely, like if I feel like I really.
Hey guys, sorry, we got to cut off a little earlier and we both got kicked out of the video call. But now we're back. Corbin's got some food, and what we were talking about, it was your future plans to become a pro.
To be honest, that would actually be cool. That'd be awesome to be like, oh my God, I'm actually a pro bodybuilder. But I definitely feel I would actually say, yeah, that could be a technical goal, just because I know, like for myself, going to the gym years ago, it was more for like mental health and just like overall wellness, and obviously a dietitian, you have to lift and stuff like that. But I think those goals have been all completed. And I think with going through this prep and everything, it definitely gave me more goal. Like I was more invigorated going to the gym, even when I didn't want to be there. I'd be like, no, let's keep going. This is fun. So it's definitely, I will continue to keep competing, and I'm going to take it as slow as I possibly can, making sure that my health is paramount, making sure that my family and friendships and relationships are paramount. Because it's a hobby at the end of the day. We're doing it for plastic trophies. This is not like, we're not all going to be like,
it's not paying the bills.
Exactly. So there's no point of like, yo, I can't do this and da 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 da. It's like, no, I'm gonna go do that. I'll just take my food with me. But I definitely want to go, bro.
I mean, it definitely. I can imagine it. Maybe it helps your resume. It doesn't help mine. I'm in IT.
Yeah, it does. Because I think one of the biggest things I do in the offshoot is I do take clients for people. Like I'll do counseling and on the side with the MNT. But I think becoming a pro, and even not even becoming a pro, just doing this myself, I think it opens a bigger door for me. Just because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I did one show, I did 5 shows. I kind of get a grasp and concept of this, and maybe I can copy paste like what my coach did to me. So now I can use this to like pay people, like they can pay me to do it. But I think being the dietitian, I think it opens a lot more different things in my mental space, where I definitely feel like, I mean, obviously I feel like I could coach somebody to a show now, but it may
that was my next question. Like, are you considering taking any competitors?
If somebody reached out to me, I would do it. I probably would do it for like very, very, very cheap. Just because at the end of the day, it's experience for me and then experience for you. And then like you're gonna like if it's your first show, then yeah, my whole disposal of like what I know is at your like beck and call. Like, and if there's something that I'm not gonna know, I'm gonna look it up. And then like if you have something where you have experience, like, hey, can we try X, Y, and Z? I'm like, well, that makes sense. Yeah, let's try that out. So maybe that's something that I mean, I definitely like if somebody reached out, excuse me, somebody reached out to me to do it, I definitely would consider it.
And for yourself, you're going to continue coaching yourself?
Um, so that's the biggest like $1 million question for me right now.
You don't have to
Um,
answer it.
Oh no, I don't. I'm an open book. Right now, I honestly say, I will continue to keep coaching myself at least for this show and the next show. I may get a coach in the off season, just because the biggest thing really right now is that like there's a lot of bro science and a lot of people are like, oh, we're going to do this. And like, well, I want you to eat white rice for like 4 meals. Like, why? Because digests better. Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense because of my GI tract or something like that. So I feel like I do want to coach. But I'll have to be really selective because I want to find somebody that's going to respect like where my knowledge base is already. I don't want them to just be shooting down and looking down on me because I'm coming from a different area. Because I know a lot of people in the bodybuilding world will look down on dietitians, and I know dietitians look down on the bodybuilding world. So they're almost polar opposites. So I'm open to getting a coach. I would just want somebody to be like, hey, I know X, Y, and Z is going on with my body. Here's the literature or something like that. And I just want them to be like, hey, Corbin, I understand that. I think this is I want more of a teamwork type
Yeah, yeah.
mentality versus the no, I told you to eat this X, Y, and Z type thing. Like I just wanted the respect.
I
So
would say usually I think good coaches. I mean, I've only had two, but I've known more. They usually should give you an explanation for
yeah,
something, not just because I said so. I can
exactly.
imagine a coach doesn't want to answer 1,000 questions every
Oh
little,
yeah,
but
definitely.
my coach, he lowered my protein intake, and I was a little surprised. I was like, okay,
Mm,
but I trusted him,
yeah.
because that's not something I normally would expect in prep.
Mm,
I know for myself when I started competing, my goal was like, I would like to get top three in my class.
mm.
Turns out there were only like three people in my class. I didn't know that.
So you won. Technically, you got your goal.
Yeah, yeah. I reached my goal. I was like, okay, cool. But like, I guess the big thing I should say is when I started competing or getting into prep, I was like, I think I can make top three.
Mhm.
Like I reached a point in training and how far I got with growing my body. I'm like, okay, I think I'm competitive.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely. You got the good physique to be competitive.
oh yeah, I don't know if you've seen what I look like my first year.
I'll have to get some photos so I can look at it.
uh, I'll throw it up here for everybody else to see. I was lean and small, but I guess yeah, it kind of worked out. And then kind of like I think kind of like you, my goals progressed. It's like okay, now I want to win my class.
Yeah.
I want to win an overall. But yeah, and like now I'm doing nationals for the first time. That's my plan in
There
December.
you go. There you go. I
It's
like.
weird. It's weird for me to say. And I don't like saying the words or the phrase "road to pro."
Mhm.
I don't know, something I don't like about it. I'm just like I'm gonna just do my best,
Yeah.
and hopefully my best.
For me, it's the road to fun. Like at
Yeah,
the end of
yeah.
the day, I'm doing this for fun.
I'm thinking
Like
to just call it "Road to Disney World" because that's where I'm going after because it's in Orlando. Road to
there you
Disney
go.
World.
Wait a second. Are you doing the Sharu?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I thought I got a buddy that's doing that too.
He's not doing classic, is he? If
I'm
he
not
is, that's
sure.
okay. I'll just, I'll just try to bump him down one.
Oh man. But no, I think just like going ahead, like for me, I just want to have fun. I'm sure I could continue to keep talking about this. Like if anybody out there is like watching this and you see me in the gym, just talk to me. You can talk to me. Just make sure like I'm like in between a set or like make sure that like you're
Before you
not
start
taking
working out or after or during your
Uh,
cardio? I don't know. Is maybe an
during,
easier time.
during cardio, during my sets, stuff like that, it's fine because it's not really gonna bother me because eventually, like, I'll just walk off and you'll be like, "Oh, I was mid sentence." I'm like, "No, I need to do my set," and you should understand that, like, I'm gonna do my set, and I'll do my set while you're talking to me. But yeah, but I'm pretty approachable. Like in the gyms that I go to, like if you guys are from the Pittsburgh area, my main one is the Powerhouse in North Hills. I'll go to Wright's Gym in Crafton, and then also Planet Fitness in Crafton too. And then also I'll go to the random LA Fitness here and there as well. So if you see me around, just say hello.
Do you have any general advice, like a simple one or two tips for everybody?
um, General advice, you mean for like
And
competing or?
anything? Are you sure competing, or because you just did your first show, and maybe
Um,
there's first timers or people who are considering it.
I would say honestly, like if you're a first timer, literally just don't go with any expectations. Like literally just just go up there to have fun. Like there's nothing that you need to go up there and be like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Because I think the one biggest thing that we have in the bodybuilder world is like, oh yeah, bro, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to hit my poses and I'm going to go true overall. And the next thing you know, I'm going to go pro and stuff like that. Like it's go hard, go hard, go hard. Like no,
I'm
have
definitely with you there, and I've heard
yeah,
experienced guys who are like, I'm going to become pro by this year or in
exactly.
2 years or something like that.
Mhm.
That's extreme. Like
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can have those things, but just like at the end of the day, have fun. And then I would say the second piece of advice is really learn your body, experiment with a lot of things. Like if you feel like, oh, well, this is how I eat on a lot of carbs or a low carb day, or this is how I feel X, Y, and Z. And when you do that, write down a log, like a little journal, and say, like, okay, how do I feel off 4 days of like 50 grams of carbs? Or how did I feel after I ate that burger and just went to work out? Like really try to log your stuff. So then when if you do want to do it yourself, then you have something to fall back on. Or if you go out and you get a coach, you can say to yourself, hey, here's a book, all this stuff that I've done. And if the coach is good, they'll probably read it and look at it and be like, oh yeah, man, well, why did you do this X, Y, and Z? And why did you this? Oh, maybe we can do this too. This works out.
I
So it can help them out.
I really had that trouble with actually bulking with growing. I had to
Mm,
really learn what foods I can eat and whatnot, like which ones slow down my digestion. And
yeah,
like I've learned over years, and that's why I made the most progress, like in the past year.
same.
And kind of to go back to like no expectations, I'm kind of the same way, like, or I
Mm,
underestimate myself. Like I'm like, I just want to do my best. I have a goal, win the overall, just like everybody else. But exactly why I don't say road to pro. I don't want to have the expectation. I would like to
exactly.
win it, but I don't expect to. I'm just gonna.
Mhm.
I expect, I want to do my best.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
like you can do at the end of the day because you can't control who comes up on the stage. You
exactly.
can't control what the lighting is going to be. Like you can't control what your body's going to do because your body's going to do whatever
You
the hell it
can't control
wants.
the judging. Some judges might like you,
Exactly.
some judges might not.
Mm,
If it's really close, it's like if it was just a different mix of judges, you might have won.
yeah.
There's
Hell.
usually like five judges, and you've got to get three.
Mhm. And that judge may be like, hey, we've been here. I've been here all day. I just want to get the hell out of here. Okay, number 56, you win. And then they don't care because it's like that.
One
So
might like the size, one might like the shape or the conditioning.
exactly. So, but yeah, I would say those are the things that, like, for advice from me is the number one, always have fun. And then two, when you start to thinking about it, just like log every single thing that you can do. And then also two, like depending on what you want to do, like your structure, like for instance, like I'm 5'10" and I have a good V taper. So there's no point of me going open bodybuilder. Like it's just not going to work. Or if you're a girl and you have your heavier set, you should might go to wellness. You're not going to be good in bikini because you're going to lose too much weight. So kind of like look at go to a show, look at the people that possibly look like you, and then say, hey, maybe that's what I can do because
That
there's. Hmm,
that is a good one. I remember it helped. I went to a local show, and it gave me a better perspective. Like I'd been to the Arnold before, the expo. I'm like, this isn't the same thing.
yeah, it's not. It's definitely not. But yeah, so I think those are probably the biggest pieces of advice that I could do, and I could say to people. I would say too, like if you're a little bit more advanced, maybe learn more about like nutrition and stuff like that, because it'll definitely help you out. Like learn what a carb does, why it goes into the body a certain way, learn what a fat does and the protein does.
It,
So
it
posting
definitely
stuff out.
helps just learning about bodybuilding, the training and the fitness, not being a meathead.
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
progress a lot farther being smart about it.
Mhm.
Do you want to give everybody your Instagram one more time?
So my Instagram is Corb_RD. That's spelled CORB_RD. I said if you guys scroll back, you'll know what gyms I go to. Obviously, I'm still in prep. I'm located in the Pittsburgh area. I probably go to the gym 7 days a week. So you will see me around. Friendly, just shoot me a message or just like tout me down or whatever. So, but I'll definitely be willing to talk. And also too, like if you guys have questions about like anything, like when it comes to like diet or something like that, like feel free to like ask me. I can always answer the question.
Hopefully we'll have you on again. Well, I mean, I want to have you on again
Oh,
after
I'm
the
coming
Ohio
back.
State
I'm
at
coming
some
back.
point.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
This is
Yeah,
fun.
I enjoy it too. This has been good. So probably after the Ohio State at some point we can both talk about our own experiences.
Definitely.
I'm glad you came on, and this conversation went on much longer than I expected, but I'm glad it did happen.
Yeah. See, this is
And
why I ramble. I ramble. I can
we'll
keep
bullshit
talking.
more next time.
Definitely.
So yeah, follow Corbin. Leave a comment, what you liked from Corbin, any questions you might have for him, or anything. And subscribe to the channel and follow myself on Instagram, sj.hammer. Thank you guys, and I plan to have more guests in the future. See you guys next time.
See you guys.